Here, it's 7 o'clock, so let's all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We got a lot on our plate tonight, so we might as well
dive right in.
we'll look at the last week's minutes. It should be there in your packet somewhere. I'll give you a few minutes to look at that.
Festival meeting.
And there's also a festival meeting, correct. They should be together.
Didn't pack that. No.
Did you get a chance to review one of the applications?
Yeah,
You really did.
she's already printed them, I think.
I saw one today in the. I hope so.
If everything looks okay, could I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the festival meeting minutes.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Get a motion to accept. Did you second it?
Sure.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you, so.
Well,
We're at the same time.
pinch coat.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to accept the town council meeting minutes.
Okay, there's been a motion to accept the town board meeting as well.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's accepted. Okay, as you know, Andy's not here tonight. He's got a report there in your packet. It's pretty self-explanatory. I do want to read one page, a paragraph on the back page under streets. I think it's pretty interesting and pretty important. And for those who are not aware, the paving project is out for bid. It has been advertised twice in the Times and the Reporter. The bid opening will be March the 26th at 7 p.m. All bids must be received by 2 p.m. that day. I just wanted to make that public. You can read that. With that, let's move on to our volunteer fire department.
Do you want to talk about this now? Or
Well, let's just do that on the old business when we start the meeting.
All right.
Jerry?
Okay, I have your, the latest, since the February the 11th meeting, you have your run totals. So it's starting on that sheet from 2/14/2019. Looks like there's been 7 runs in that time period, all EMS runs. And it shows what the run type is. So, as you can see, we're still going to 135 South John Street. The next thing on my list is if you remember back during the cold snap, I was contacted by Director Shane Booker to recommend a building for here in town to be used in case we would need to open up a warming or a warming center at that time, cooling center in the summer months or whatever. And so we learned that that Jody had worked in the past with Red Cross, and that is the designated building in the town, is the shelter house or the community building. I am still working on putting together a cost to wire that or make that building available for for emergency power. Pam and I, when we were out at Beck's for the multi-hazard plan review through the county, we spoke with Director Booker, and he told us if we could come up with a cost, he would put that on his, what was it, like a shelf-ready project or whatever, to see if whenever money came available, we could maybe use that money to make that building ready for emergency power. I do have a copy of of that final plan through EMA, and this will be the town hall's copy here. I'll keep a copy down at the fire station. I learned today that there's 24 shelters across Hamilton County that are Red Cross shelters, and right now there's room for a maximum of 18,080 people at those shelters, which when you think about how many people's in Hamilton County, you know, we're probably close to 300,000. 18,000 is not a whole lot of, you know, space or whatever, or 18,080. So and I'm still waiting on putting together a cord for the fire station, because we are set up there for electrical power, but I need to put a plug in. I think I told you guys last time I was here that we do have a plug in, but that's not the case. The plug has been ordered from what I've been told. We'll put that on the back of the station where it needs to be, and then whenever we get the light tower in town here from EMA, we'll be able to set up everything and come up with a cord, and I'll get with you on that, and we'll make it happen.
I've heard a voicemail days after you had left it for me, and I apologize for not getting back with you, but for some reason my phone didn't ring through whenever you tried to call me about that.
That's
Just
fine.
try again.
That's fine.
Okay.
So just kind of updating the council on where we stand with that, and so hopefully we're past the cold snap now. We won't need that in this year, but we do have the summer months coming. Hydrants. I was contacted by Control to for the new hydrant locations in town. They'd like to put those in their system. I have started the process of kind of creating a map with the new hydrant locations in town. I think Andy told me there's 25.
Yeah, and I'm thinking he probably has a map already.
I think he does.
Okay,
He
so
should have maps, so.
I know he has plans, but I don't know if he has an actual.
No, I think he's made hydrant maps for when he goes around and flushes hydrants.
Oh, okay,
so,
cool. I'll get with him then on that. I still need to get Director Booker's signature for the on that light tower MOU that you approved at your last meeting. Hopefully I can, that'll happen here sometime, maybe by the end of the week. I have made arrangements for the apparatus to be pump tested again. That's an annual thing. I have Kenneth Miller coming to the station with his portable tank and whatever. It's one we used last year, and it works out great. We don't have to drive it somewhere for that testing. He comes to the station. Still trying to work with American Red Cross to do their home fire safety campaign. My contact with American Red Cross no longer works there, so I've been given another number, and I'm playing phone tag with her. So hopefully I can make that happen sometime in April or May, or we may have to push it back a little bit. But I do want to work with Jennifer to get that word out on the water bill, so that we can try to get some smoke detectors here in town into these residents that don't have them. If you remember back in November, I took I call the mini pumper up to RPI to have some pump issues fixed. And if you remember right, I was told that the pump needed to be rebuilt because it was wore out. Well, I got to thinking, basically I got a second opinion and learned that it was a throttle cable issue. That's been fixed. There's nothing wrong with the pump.
Yay.
So
Thank you.
that saves the town and the department about $4,500.
Yes.
So I guess it pays to get that second opinion. So I'll be working with Jerry Kelly to maybe get the lettering done on it so that we can get that truck in service and start running it. Still looking for a company to do ladder testing. Not having much luck on that. I've been told there is an outfit in Michigan. I just need to reach out to them. I have made arrangements with a 5-alarm fire equipment to come and do the service and maintenance on the Hearse tool that we have, which has never been done as far as I know since the territory dissolved. And we're still working on trying to figure out if we can relocate that air compressor in the department and get it vented to the outside. Couple things that I added to this is this 135 South John Street. We've been there probably about a total of 33 times since August of last year. I have found out there is a mobile medic program in the city of Carmel that I believe that they'll come out and maybe meet with this person, evaluate her, see what we can do to help her. Every time she falls, we have to go help her get back up because her roommate cannot help her get up off the floor. When Manny was here last time, I asked Manny if by doing that, if that was going to cause some liability to the town. I don't think it will, but he was going to research it, but I haven't heard back from him on that.
Okay,
So
I'll talk to him about that. I wouldn't think so, but I can look into it and see if he already looked into it.
okay, but I think sitting here talking before the meeting, I think that's something I think we should do to see if we can help her and see if there's any services out there that can help her. And then the last thing that I have been told by the county that they have some old computers that they've replaced that they normally trash down at that has Windows 7 on it. So I've asked through the channels down at the county if we can get one of those computers for the department to be so we can use it for training and so forth. And don't know whether we'll get a desktop or a laptop, but if it's free, we'll utilize it.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, unless you guys have any questions for me. I'll give this is the copy of that cooling and heating plan. I'll leave that for Jennifer and she can put it up here somewhere.
You do know that January, they're gonna stop support for Windows 7. They're not gonna provide updates for it.
Maybe that's the reason why they want to give us that free computer.
Well, you can always upgrade it.
But it's got to have enough, what is it, drive or whatever in there that it will handle the Windows 10.
Yeah,
So that's good to know. Thank you.
you look up the specs for it.
So,
Any other questions for Jerry? We'll move on. Our code enforcement officer, Edie Kesey, is not here tonight. And our clerk treasurer, Jennifer Farley, is not here tonight. So I guess we'll move on to old business. There's a lot of old business to talk about. And I know we have an agenda in front of us here. And so, Bert, is there something that you wanted to talk about here real quick?
We can talk to you about it after.
Okay, so then you're all willing to go ahead with the agenda then?
Does anyone have an extra agenda just so I can follow?
Yeah, she.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna talk about our letter of engagement tonight, and we've got Steve Brock with us here tonight. He's gonna explain an awful lot of stuff to us, so Steve, I'll just turn the floor over to you.
Look at your agenda. Okay, the letter of engagement. Is that the letter of engagement from me, or is that the letter of engagement from Triad?
Well, actually, I think it's, when I talked to Manning, I think it was from Triad.
Okay,
But Triad's not here tonight, so.
they're not, and they talked to me and
Thank you.
asked me if I would cover for them. So
Okay,
I'm here to cover
that's-
for Triad too, so you
Okay.
can ask me Triad questions as well as
Okay.
financial questions, so. Just the basic overview is that, in the last meeting, we talked about the sewage project and about the financing for the sewage project, as well as what has to be done to move forward with that. And my understanding of the process is that Triad, through this engagement letter, wants to get quotes for the cleaning and televising of the sewage lines. Because as I understand the project, it's supposed to be the collection system and relining and replacing collection system, right? So what Triad believes needs to be done first is to actually evaluate your collection system to see which areas need to be relined, which areas need to be replaced, and which areas are actually good. So they think that this investigative work is the first step, so that they could adequately provide a preliminary engineering report that would deliver a scope of services to you that would be beneficial. And certainly a preliminary engineering report, when it's done, would evaluate your whole system and tell you where the problem areas are, and then put together various costs of estimated costs of what it would be to correct those, and then you can decide which areas that you want to move forward with, and that would be then the project that we'd go forward with for financing with the state revolving loan fund. We talked about the state revolving loan fund last time. That's the quickest and the cheapest interest rate program that's there for environmental projects like this. Johnny's very familiar with that since we did a couple of those in Arcadia. We've used SRF here before in Atlanta. We've been very successful with that, getting grant money as we did in Arcadia from that program. And I think I've got an idea how we can request grant money from the SRF for this project also. I can't guarantee we're gonna get it, but I can put together a proposal for them that would do that. On the state revolving loan fund, that's something I was talking to Lou Safka today about. They've got a funding cycle that we're trying to work in with, and that's why I've been talking about dates, where they're gonna get ready and be ready in time. They'd have to have the PER, the environmental assessment, and the SRF application form to them by around June 1st to June 15th to be able to get in the July 1st funding round for the SRF. And the SRF has been so popular in recent years, there's not a lot of money available after July 1st if you come in later than that. So my recommendation would be that if you want this project and can get in by July 1st, that you should have that information in the SRF by June 15th. Whether that can happen or not really depends on how quickly Triad can get the quotes together for the investigative work, the cleaning and the televising, and how quickly they can evaluate and put that PO back together, get them back to you, and how quickly you want to make a decision to move forward or not. But certainly we can do the things to work to give us every possible chance of making that first July date, and if not, then we'd be a year behind looking at July 1st of next year. Or hoping that there's very little demand this year for SRF loans, which has not been the case in the last 3 or 4 years, and that we'd be able to come in later.
Well, you also have an election year next year.
Yeah.
And you don't know if that money's, gonna be there.
And that, I never know
You
from
know,
one
you
year
never
to the
know.
next what's
Yes.
gonna happen, yeah. On election cycles, if we would get in with the July 1st funding round, we'd be closing our loan with the SRF by around December of this year. So rates and charges wouldn't have to be adjusted until January of next year. So there wouldn't be any negative impact on an election cycle in Atlanta due to rates and charges having to increase or not increase. So that's always a good consideration, something to think about. And I get that question a lot from council, so I just wanted to put that out there also. So I think what we're talking about, do we have a actual letter of engagement or proposal from Triad in your package of material?
Unless it presented at last meeting.
this
I
was
think he sent
for
it.
bond counsel.
No.
He sent it on Monday.
Steve, as far as this letter of engagement, I'm not sure exactly what the language is, I know whatever, Steve, we didn't get it added to our package. I got a concern about that is there was a letter sent to IDEM, basically about this project, because the projects that are on the list, such as televising and cleaning and stuff, is basically to satisfy IDEM about the abandon notice and continue to move forward, show them we're making progress. And that letter, as far as I know, has not been approved or ever been accepted as line of work. It's been presented by Triad and Andy. And down the line, they're talking about lining the sewers.
Yes, sir.
And my concern is it's gonna be expensive to televise and clean all these lines and then turn around and duplicate that work if we do go forward with this project. And we do decide we're gonna line all these, then we gotta do the same thing. We still gotta clean them and televise them in order to catch the laterals and everything else, so we're duplicating the work. So I'm kind of, waiting on IDEM's response to that letter for one. And I know the longer we wait, we're not gonna meet this deadline. And I don't personally wanna get, where we're trying to rush to meet deadlines in order to do this project.
Sure.
I really hate to move forward and then IDEM come back and say, well, this is not acceptable, we would like to see you do this or do that. Now, I don't know, Andy's dealt with IDEM on the situation during the inspections and different things, so I don't know. We're doing a similar thing in Arcadia.
Okay.
And we're under the project down there to basically do some lining, but we didn't do all the initial cleaning and everything, because it's gonna have to be done to do the lining itself.
Okay.
So I've kind of got a concern about going ahead and approving or moving forward with that. For one, I'd like IDEM's approval and that they agree.
Okay.
And then, see if they're gonna set us at a timeline that they wanna see the stuff
Sure.
completed by.
Sure.
Or how they're gonna work it. And then two, I'd like to talk with Triad to see if it's basically duplicating the work. I don't wanna pay twice for something because we can do additional things to help remove the INI out of the system.
I'd agree, and I wish we had a tribe representative here so he could address those questions, because they're way over my head, okay?
Is there a way to do the televising without doing the cleaning now?
Usually they shoot the camera and, they jet it that's how they do the camera, and then go down, pull the camera back. So basically they wanna clean it as they jet it and so they can see and televise it, so it's.
Well, I know Andy does several areas around town and tries to do certain zones around town of jetting and cleaning anyway. I know it'd be expensive to do, but, and I understand what you're saying about duplication of efforts, but
Yeah, and
it's probably not a bad idea that our sewers get cleaned, you know what I mean?
well, yeah, I agree, but why do it twice if we're gonna move forward with this project? And two, with this letter of engagement with Triad, we don't know the language on it because we didn't get a copy of it. So really about need to table the letter of engagement without seeing it, for one.
I'd agree with that, and I think your attorney would say that too, that
Yeah,
you can't approve anything you haven't seen.
No,
Yes.
those would be the options. Table it. It's 2 pages. If you guys want to take the time to everybody print it out and look over it, I wouldn't advise, deciding anything when you haven't seen it, so.
Well, hypothetically, if the town had the money to clean and televise the systems, and I'm looking at somewhere around 50 to 75 grand, somewhere in that neighborhood. Is there any way we could get reimbursed for that?
Yes,
And what I'm getting at is, if we done it ourselves,
yes.
I'm sure we could get it at a lower price than if we would that be advantageous for us?
Your first question was, could you get reimbursed for it if the town paid for it first? And the answer is yes. Any investigative work that relates to the project can be reimbursed from project funding. So there's 2 ways you can do that. You get reimbursed from any bond anticipation note, which you can get it sooner if you want to issue a bond anticipation note, or you can get reimbursed from the project financing or grant funding from that. It'd be just another project cost, and that's reimbursable.
That's a good thing to know.
And if we were to do that out of town budget and then apply for SRF and get funded, how would that work towards Davis-Bacon wages and stuff? If we do it on our own, we're gonna go with the local contractor that can do it, and we're not complying to Davis-Bacon, does that affect us?
And you're getting a little bit over my head now too, when you get into Davis-Bacon. Certainly the construction costs on Davis-Bacon for the SRF to be able to fund that, have to comply with Davis-Bacon. On the investigative work, I don't have an answer to that. That's a good question for Triad, and they would know the answer to that just like that. So, I'm not doing a very good job today of standing up for Triad. I just keep saying, they should be here, they should be here, they should be here.
Well, I thought Jim Frisell was going to be here, and then I guess he changed his, something come up, he couldn't make it, so.
I talked to him this morning, asked if he's gonna be here, and he said, no, but, asked if anybody was gonna be here for Triad, he said, no, you're gonna be there, Steve. So, okay, so, I thought that was funny.
Give some answers that he won't wanna hear.
Yeah, he did a very good job, isn't he? That's funny. Yeah, but really, you gotta be comfortable with whatever you're gonna be doing, and it's gotta make sense for you. The only reason I came and talked to you at the last meeting and been giving information to Andy is just because we never know what's gonna happen with funding cycles. We never know how much money's gonna be available. We know there's gonna be money available this year. You know, it's, with the federal government, you never know what's gonna happen next year. And the money from the state revolving loan fund, like rural development, comes from federal grants and federal programs. So, but as I said in my letter to you last meeting, you know, the funding cycles can't run your project. You know, your need for the work here has to determine when your project moves forward. And my only comment was, if you know you need to do it and it's a needed work, and we can make the funding cycle, we want to make the funding cycle. And that's all my information was there for. If you can't make it, you can't make it. And if you're not sure how you want to move forward, then we really do need the engineers here. And you got a meeting on the 25th, is that right?
I think it's the 25th.
25th?
It's 2 weeks from today.
26.
I was gonna say 26.
We can certainly have those people there then if you don't feel comfortable moving forward today.
How, that's getting closer.
Getting closer, and that's the downside, is that, you know, you're moving forward as time goes by, that you don't take any action to move forward, you have less and less chance, and it's a tight schedule now, of making that July 1st funding cycle. What has to happen, just so everybody, just to reiterate, to make that July 1st funding cycle, you've got to be scored by the SRF and put on their project priority list. To get on the project priority list, you have to have an SRF application form, which is easy. We can, and I'll ask you to put that application form in today, because it's non-obligatory and it doesn't really cost you anything. It's like 4 pages. It just puts you on the radar for the SRF. And in addition to that, you need the preliminary engineering report, which Triad is telling you they need to do this investigative work before they can develop a scope of project. And then you need to have the environmental assessment or review. And I'm thinking that's going to be very limited, because this all looks like work that's going to be done in previously disturbed ground, which means you should have what they call a categorical, can I pronounce that right here in a second? Categorical exclusion, there, I got it out. Which means that you don't need to ask all of the environmental agencies if there are buried Indian mounds on your remains and things like that. So that should save you 60 or 90 days in your process. So what we're concerned about here is just what needs to be done to be able to develop the PER, preliminary engineering report, to give you the alternatives for you to determine what you want to do and how you want to move forward. And that's what we're talking about. What Lou is saying, and I talked to him about it today, is that he believes that you have to have this televising work done in order for them to develop an adequate scope for the project for the PER. And I have no idea on Johnny's comment on whether that is duplicated or not. But it's just Lou today saying that work needed to be done prior to him developing and his firm developing the
Okay, with all that being said, I want to ask the board something, before I even ask a motion. Does everyone feel comfortable tonight in making a decision, whatever that may be? Or do you feel like you need to talk to some engineers about some, what?
I think if we stand to be reimbursed for it, that makes me feel a little less hesitant about duplication of costs.
It wouldn't be the whole thing either, as what's being talked about is anything less than 8 feet deep would be a replacement.
Okay.
Anything below that would be a reline. So those are the only ones where we would
The deep
duplicate
ones.
efforts.
The
Yeah,
deep
I don't know how much
Yeah.
our system is that deep,
Okay.
but
Not the ones that were smoked out where smoke was coming out of.
likely.
If you are considering making a decision tonight, I'd like to suggest a procedure, and that would be that you, if you decide to go forward, you know, you're going down the rabbit hole here, let me talk to Triad to make sure that we've got a good answer for Johnny's question, and whether the
Well,
deed is.
that's what I was getting at. I didn't know whether John or somebody here might want to table this
Yeah.
to get a question answered or something. I just
That's a
want to be
good question,
upfront,
I think it's a
honest
question
with
you
you
need
about
to,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, if you look, another thing too is Jennifer's not here to, explain the funds that are available.
That's
for
true.
us to spend
That's true.
anyway. I'm sitting here looking at it, and we're not really doing
I
all.
think that this is something that we would be wise to move forward with. I think that maintaining our system and trying to get rid of these cross issues, every time it rains, this rain we just had, I think Andy said the lift station rained for 40 hours straight. It was, that's water, groundwater going into our sewer system.
Yeah.
So we know there's a problem, and the smoke testing they've already done has identified that. We need to move forward with something, but, so I don't know what we can do tonight, absent that engagement letter. I guess you said the SRF, what's the letter we need to do, or the thing we need to sign to get on their radar, you said?
That would be the application, and you could authorize Triad to prepare that tonight and have Toby sign it whenever it's ready. That can be a week from now or 2 weeks from now at the next meeting. So Lou told me that they could get started on that, just with someone from the council sign it once it's
No.
approved. Doesn't obligate you.
I'm in favor of
No, wait, before you make a motion. The fact that I mentioned about the town paying the cleaning and televising fee, that we don't have to go that route. And like John said, and I was told that the sufficient funds was there, but that's not official. That's, so I don't even know. So I'm thinking maybe, my personal view is I think we should go ahead and, I can't make a motion here, but I think we should go ahead and sign the application and let these, because there is such a critical time factor involved. That's the thing. We don't have much time here to play with. And like Steve said, if this gets by us, we don't know what's gonna be there next year.
Right.
And so I think we should take advantage of the situation. That's my personal opinion. So if any of you want to make a motion, yes.
When you guys done the smoke test, and the issues that you guys found, have those, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Have
I
those
can
issues been resolved?
No.
They have
That's
not?
what we're working on.
Are they residential issues?
Some are, some are not.
Some are not. Okay. And those residents have been notified
As far as I'm
of
aware.
those issues?
Yes,
Okay. Now, if those issues are resolved,
it's,
what
it's,
percentage,
it's small.
real
We still
small?
have some
Okay.
big issues underground.
Where are the biggest issues?
We've got a map somewhere, I don't have it here, but
What's that system, over 50, 60 years old?
it's something
not
like that.
more.
There's been some work done to it over the years.
Okay, let's stick with the issue here. Let's stick with the issue.
This would just be a request for quotes.
Does somebody on the board want to make a motion to sign the application?
I'll move that we sign the application to get this process started.
So this is, the motion is for
the
the
application.
the letter to SRF, or
Yes,
the application to SRF?
Yes.
All right.
So they
I would
wouldn't
second that
actually
motion.
be.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, I agree.
Okay. The application's granted, yeah.
You keeping track of?
Caitlin just found something, she's
Oh,
looking
okay.
at the engagement letter from Triad, and it's not an engagement letter for Triad Services, and it's not anything other than, allowing
Getting
Triad
quotes.
to get quotes for you for the cleaning and televising work, so you know what it would cost.
Oh, let's do that.
Okay.
So I'd still like, I mean, I can summarize it quickly. We can print out a copy. I mean, has anyone here received it? Who was it sent to then?
Go to Jennifer possibly.
I did it.
I just checked my email.
So where's our biggest issue? I mean, what is,
It's, there's still cross connections between the storm and sanitary sewer systems.
What would be the best way to print?
And the last one,
We-
the last I heard, there was a major one somewhere down around.
If I sent it to
Trailer park
someone's
area.
email here,
And, you know, that's one of the items complaints is.
So what do you need,
I just would like, I mean, if there's not even a hard copy
Exceed the
here,
capacity
it is
limits
just to
of the
get
wastewater
quotes,
treatment.
but I would still like to have a hard copy that you guys can review. It's 2 pages, it's 1 page, and then the second page is just a fee
Of
schedule.
course, these old towns, they used to be compliant.
Can you open your email and print on this?
Yeah, you wanna email it to me?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it was, some of them are combined, it was by design.
It's TOA.Marie,
It was by design originally, and way back when.
Yeah. Now they're on the Water Act and all that, and they're wanting to remove
T.
it.
OA.
Steve, were all
Dot Murray.
the deep sewer lines smoke tested as well?
Concrete in there.
As part of the PER, Triad will televise your entire system, and that's what the televising is, and then be able to evaluate what needs to be done. What they're trying to find is where all the infiltration's coming in from,
Right,
which is,
right.
all the water, and you've got 2 types, and you probably understand the difference between the 2 terms, inflow and infiltration. One comes from your sump pumps and your downspouts, and one comes from broken lines and groundwater. That's what we're trying to
The
evaluate.
booklet we have has all this.
Oh, yeah. I left mine home.
Clean out.
If we have another one of those here.
Downspout, storm inlet, yard road, driveway, sidewalk smoke.
What is that, Jody? Is that a,
Rule 13 program,
what's the title of that report?
where they want towns to monitor.
Wastewater system, hydraulic overloading evaluation, because we had a smoke test
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
in January.
Yeah.
Of this year. Gonna start going down the road.
Yeah.
The stormwater when it gets clear.
Don't use that.
Down the pipe, you know.
It's amazing how small they made those now. Remember the old days, you had the big dual thing, you know, it's a builder reel? Yeah,
And then the mini cassettes.
yeah.
This is ridiculous. Okay.
Caitlin, is there a, attachment on there, or is it just an email?
Yeah, there should, the first one didn't have an attachment, and then he sent the right one with the attachment. Did it
All
go?
there? Can I just kind of look through them? Sure.
I'm sending it again.
So we need Triad to be at the next meeting, correct?
Most
It would
definitely.
be helpful and.
Well, then how do we put pressure on them to make sure that they get here? I mean, there's a bunch of people that could come from there, right? Not just
I can
one?
talk to them.
Okay.
Because
We need to
he's
move.
talked about the deadline,
Yes.
and it is holding
Yes.
things up as
2
there's certain
weeks,
steps that
2
need to
weeks
be
if
met.
they'd have
No,
been
I
here
agree.
tonight, yes.
I agree.
I don't know if there's any way that they can check on that letter that they sent to IDEM, the one that we have signed.
Yeah,
Just one sheet?
I'd like to see that, see what IDEM's response to that letter.
yeah, can they send that to us so that we can review it before the next?
Do that.
That'd be nice, I mean, if IDEM's replied, to them. They may not have yet. We should.
I mean,
you
we
know, it
can-
was sent,
Should've.
you know, by Triad, you know, on our behalf, so we should be getting some kind of reply, or Andy should have, from IDEM himself.
I guess that's right.
No.
I just saw them 10 seconds ago.
All right.
So we got
So
4.
these are just okay.
Here, I can work on
Those is 12,
that meeting, I'll get everybody.
not to exceed 12.
Okay.
So I talked to Nadine and figured you could kind of discuss that, and then I would talk about the differences between like flat fees and hourly with the staff, if that works for you.
Sure.
Just the general.
Yeah. This one's supposed to be at 19, but you won't get an SRF for council
I've
fee,
got it
which
here,
is
I'll make copies for
3.5.
everybody after, but I can read it right now if
This
you'd
is you
like.
guys,
Yeah.
not to exceed, we'll do on an hourly
Triad
basis,
Associates
which is
Incorporated is very
Yeah,
pleased
so
to
that's
present this
fine.
engineering services agreement to assist the town in seeking / getting quotes for cleaning and televising the sanitary sewer lines necessary for assessing the needs of the system. Triad will provide a request for quotes package that will be included, or that will include instructions to contractors, a map of the sewer collection system specifying the lines to be cleaned and televised, as well as a quote proposal form. We will communicate with vendors and contractors that specialize in this line of work and will provide packages for those expressing interest in the project. Triad will endeavor to do our work in a timely manner to get the quotes for the town as quickly as possible. We believe doing this prudently on an hourly rate basis will be the fairest method for both parties. And then they've attached their fee schedule, and we will commence our work upon the signed copy of this agreement. If this agreement meets your approval, please sign both originals, retain one for your records, return one to us. And their fee schedule is on the back. I am in favor of signing that.
This is what we just, voted on. This is the application itself.
No,
No.
that's the application, the state revolving loan fund application, it's a 6-page, non-obligatory application that just gets you on the radar. This is the this is the engagement letter from Triad,
Oh.
to get quotes for the investigative work.
So I
You
make a
sign
motion
up.
that we accept and sign this engagement letter from Triad.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I can communicate with Triad about that. Make sure I know they still have to comply with the bidding laws. So I'll talk to them. Tell them that you guys made a motion and have signed that agreement. So.
Need another copy of that.
Yeah, need another copy of that.
I think we can work that.
You can make another copy of that. Give one to them.
Okay.
See if we can figure that out.
Okay, does that end all the discussion on the letter of engagement? If so, we'll move on to bond counsel. And Caitlin, I guess, or is it Steve?
I'm gonna start in case.
Oh,
Start and I'll
okay,
finish
okay.
it,
You guys
and then
just
you
take
guys
the
go
floor.
ahead. Yeah, we've got this
Okay.
system.
Oh, the areas that I don't, okay, she's gonna
Tag
finish
team.
it.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you go.
That's
Take it away.
fine.
She's gonna let me do the easy part, she's gonna do the hard part, that's what's gonna happen. At the last meeting, you asked me to contact different bond counsel firms, and I contacted 6, and I'm surprised we only got 4 answers. One of them did not respond, one of them said he was going to get a proposal to us and did not, but we have 4. And I'm just looking at Johnny's here, and these have been arranged approximately in cost order. We have one, which is from Bose, McKinney and Evans, which is provide the services bond counsel of the town for the proposed bond issue at a fee not to exceed $12,000, which is inclusive of all fees and costs. So a flat 12.
And I'll cut him real quick before you explain the cost. So I think in these two there'll just be two different ways they would present it. So one is a flat fee. So say it was $15,000, and that's what it's going to cost you regardless of the work they do. So they could, work a minimum number of hours. It's still going to cost you the same. And then some firms will have put in hourly, probably with a cap. So that just means they track their time by the hour using that attorney or those attorneys' hourly rates. But there will be a cap. Typically, I think all those probably would have a cap. I'm not quite sure. But that would mean even if they did $20,000 of work, you have the safety net of having a cap at say $15,000 or something like that, so that you can be sure that no matter how much work, if it gets tricky and there's an issue and it takes longer than expected, that if you see the cap in there, it's not going to exceed that amount. So I just wanted to explain the different ways that proposals would probably be expressed in there.
So it's not as straightforward as you might imagine.
Yeah.
So you've got the first one, which is a flat cost of $12,000, whether they do 1 hour's worth of work, whether they do 500 hours worth of work, and it includes all fees and costs. The next one is a little more complicated, and that's from Brian Collins from Bingham and Bingham Greenbelt Daw, and they gave us a quote of $19,000. And the reason I'm saying this one is a little more complicated, and his comment is here, not the lowest but the best. I like that, which is certainly an opinion. But he also says, Brian Collins is also bond counsel for the State Revolving Loan Fund program, and he says if he is the bond counsel, there will not be a bond counsel fee from the State Revolving Loan Fund program, which there generally is. And I say there generally is because there is not always. There's an in-house bond counsel for the State Revolving Fund also. This is how it gets complicated. And when she does work, then Brian doesn't. And there is either a much lower fee or no fee at all. But the typical bond counsel fee from the SRF is from $3,000 to $5,000. So, he's at 19. There's going to be anywhere from maybe a $3,000 maybe less $1,000 deduction from his fee. I can't get in his quote where he says that there won't be any additional fees and charges. A lot of times when you get a bond counsel charge, it's the quote for the bond counsel services, and then there are fees out-of-pocket costs, what they cost. So the first one was everything. The second one we don't know, but it is certainly higher. And those are both on fixed cost, and this is what Caitlin was saying, that will not exceed that. Now, the third one is going to be Taft. And this one is our fee for bond counsel services will be billed on an hourly basis with a not to exceed fee cap of $17,500. So they will bill you on an hourly basis, and the fee will not exceed $75,000, but could be less if there are less hours involved in what they do. So that is the third one. And the fourth one is from Ice Miller, Nadia, and Ryan. And it is in the range of $19,000 to a maximum of $22,000. This covers typical bond counsel services as discussed in response. The proposal assumes that all matters proceed without litigation. And this one has an add-on for the reimbursed costs for out-of-pocket costs. So this was 19 to 22 plus out-of-pocket costs. So let's look at this. Ice Miller is definitely higher than Bose McKinney. So we'll put Ice Miller over there. Brian Collins, even if we assume $5,000 to be high for a project like this, he's still going to be higher than Bose McKinney. And he's on a fixed amount basis, quoted fee. Okay, so in my opinion, it comes down to, we go from 4 to 2. We have Bose McKinney at a fixed cost not to exceed. The firm's supposed to fee the services of bond counsel. The proposed bond issue is not to exceed $12,000, which is inclusive of all fees and costs. So that's all we know about that. And then we have an hourly basis on Taft. That will go out on an hourly basis with a cap not to exceed $17,500. So if you're looking for the fee that would be lost, it would be one of those two. And we don't know exactly because we don't know the number of hours in a week. Would that be fair to say?
That's
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
I think you should make your determination between these two if you're only concerned about fee and not concerned about other qualifications. And what I will say is I've looked at all these firms, and all these firms on SRF issues, they've all closed SRF bond issues without a problem. So I don't know if one would, one is worth more than the other based on that. If you're looking purely on cost, I think it would come down to the Bose or the Taft.
Can you give a little bit of insight so that everybody understands what these bonds are for and why they're needed and why we have to purchase a bond?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I get this a lot because I talk about the state revolving loan fund program. We talked about rural development loans also, and sometimes we talk about open market loans. But and I hate talking about legal items when there's an attorney present, so I'm going to ask Caitlin to leave the room. No, just
That's not what I was expecting.
because I understand it, and she'll correct me when I'm wrong. When I'm wrong, not if, when. That any time a municipality issues debt, it's a bond. It's an obligation to repay. It's another type of term, and it's a municipal bond. And generally, these would be tax exempt municipal bonds, which is why we get such low interest rates. So because there's a bond, the State Revolving Loan Fund requires the services of what they call a nationally recognized bond counsel. And I can talk to you for a long time on what qualifies as nationally recognized bond counsel and what doesn't. But all these firms are nationally recognized bond counsel and have done work with the State Revolving Loan Fund before. But since they're bond counsel, and this is a bond issue, then the State Revolving Loan Fund requires their services for a couple of reasons. And one, they want to make sure that all the documents are reviewed to make sure that you can't waffle out of the loan after you close on them. Hey, we're not going to pay you this, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what they're trying to do. Second thing is that they want to make sure, and it's very complicated, that all the federal and state and internal revenue service codes are complied with, and there's not a problem with the bond issue that will turn into a taxable issue at some point. State Revolving Loan Fund has a certain limit of what they call dirty money, and dirty money is taxable. And they can absorb a certain amount of that, but they can't absorb a lot of it, and they don't want to absorb any of it. So they rely on the services of outside bond counsel as well as their services of their inside bond counsel to make sure they're getting adequate representation that all the appropriate laws are complied with, and there's not going to be a problem with this debt issue, whether you paying it back or complying with state and federal and IRS tax code. So it's required for the SRF to have bond counsel. These are the bond counsel firms that we requested quotes from. Like I say, I got 6, and we had 4 responses. These are all firms that have done work with the State Revolving Loan Fund before and will comply with the State Revolving Loan Fund's terms and conditions and procedures.
If they pick someone to actually do the job, and for some reason, the job wasn't performed correctly or something went wrong, the bond counsel people are responsible to any, or who would fall, whose responsibility is that?
That's certainly a legal question.
I would have to get back to you on that one.
Probably what it would be and again, my non-legal opinion, would be a breach of duty and a breach of contract. They agreed that they would do something as long as in the scope of their work, they would have some liability, and that's why all these firms have liability insurance.
Yeah.
So if they do something that isn't normal and ordinary in the business, and that turns out to cause an adverse effect for you, economic adverse effect, then your counsel here would bring suit against that firm and to try to recover damages. What would probably happen before that happened is they would try to cure whatever happened and make that work.
But that really doesn't have anything to do with the bondsman itself.
No, and that's a great question too. And I get this question a lot. And there is a thing called a performance bond, and that's what you're talking about. Also, your clerk treasurer has indemnity bonds and performance bonds on her duties to make sure that if there is a malfeasance, that you can be covered for that. This is a different type of bond. This is an obligation to repay, and they're giving an opinion on that obligation to repay. It's not like the type of bond you get from a bail bondsman. It's a bond like a municipal bond that you'd invest in if you went to a financial house and say, I want some municipal bonds in my portfolio instead of stocks, and that's what you would invest in. It's a obligation to repay. Typical bonds have an amount of $5,000, and they have a fixed amount of interest. The nice thing about the state revolving loan fund is all bonds in the bond issue would have the same amount of interest, whereas if you get bonds in the open market, there's a thing called an upward sloping yield curve, which just means that as you get out in longer years, there's more risk and uncertainty involved with that bond, and so interest rates are higher. So if you would like to go to the bank for a loan for your house, and you want to get a 5-year loan, and it's got a 2.5% interest rate. You want to get a 30-year loan, and it's got a 4.5% interest rate. And that's the same with the bond market. The longer you get out, the longer the higher the interest rates are, except for something like a subsidized interest rate program like the SRF. Their loans for up to 20 years are at one rate, and currently their lowest rate is 2%, and that's the rate you qualify for. If you go out, they also have 25, 30, and 35-year loan terms, and each of those additional loan terms takes a slightly higher interest rate to be able to close on that loan term. But these are debt issues, not bonding instruments to ensure performance of an individual.
So you would like to, for us to make a decision on that tonight if possible?
Here's what's going on. Bond counsels are one of the, what I always say, you need 4 or 5 different types of individuals involved for any project. You certainly need your local counsel. You need your engineer to design the project. You need a financial advisor like me. You might have a grant administrator involved, and they need bond counsel that bond, that loan. So this is part of the process. They're not going to bill you to the end of it unless anytime you issue financing, they'll send you a bill, whether you do a bond anticipation note or not, or you do the final financing. But it's good to get them on earlier rather than later, so you can be aware of the project, so we have your team involved to go onward. And at one point, Stu said that, and I think it's something Johnny's saying also, that Stu said that they're going to need a bond anticipation note to pay for the investigative work and for the triad fees to do the preliminary engineering report. And what Johnny was showing me is your investment and fund balances, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of money on hand to be able to pay that. So that probably means you're going to issue a temporary financing called a bond anticipation note. What the first thing that bond counsel does is they draft the bond ordinance, and what the bond ordinance is it's the authority that the town adopts to issue bonds along certain parameters. You got a maximum amount in there of bonds you can issue. You got a maximum interest rate that you'll issue those bonds under. So it's the authorizing document, and that's the first thing that they would do. And if we wanted to, we could hire one of these bond counsels and tell them we wanted that bond ordinance by your next meeting, and they would do that. And they would have it ready for you to adopt, and there's at least a 20-day remonstrance period, unless you've got you're under an item agreed order, and then that response, that period, 20-day remonstrance period goes away. So this is one of your first steps to go forward with the project. if you did want to get moving with the project and you didn't wanna pay for the money, on hand, you could pay for it with the issuance of a bond anticipation note, which would be a temporary